The planet has entered a new era of frequent catastrophic events. One reason for this is climate change that everyone knows and talks about almost every day. It seems like natural disasters are intensifying each year. There were more forest fires this year than last year. The pandemic has been more ferocious than previous endemics and pandemics. Forecasters warn of more disasters and even viruses that can devastate society as of now because the planet's balance has broken. Before the Industrial Revolution, the environment and climate were more rustic and unaffected than now. Industrialization and technology have brought revolutionary products, comfort, and luxury to most of the world. It was fine at first, the economy has grown so fast, people had more access to foods and commodities. It takes months or more to try to grow your own food, making your own gear to survive is difficult. Industrial productions have provided all that people need to live and survive, but they started to overuse and alter the environment severely. When people had more of what they need easily, the population has boomed worldwide. The planet is in a decline at this moment. Natural resources that supply the human population are in grave danger because climate change, pollution, and industrial exhaustion can wipe out the needed material and productions in a short time. Most of the world population has been living in poverty for quite a while, and this number may increase rapidly if the planet isn't protected. It's almost getting hotter across the planet each year. Parts of the world may lose its fertility as a consequence of escalating temperatures. Coral reefs have been bleaching with the rise in ocean temperatures. The necessary materials and supplies have been dwindling faster. A lot of nations assumed the economic growth and expansion was the best plan, but nobody thought about the aftermath of industrial devastation and greenhouse gas emissions. The planet requires a new global plan to halt global warming and environmental decline. Even the largest tropical forest has been on fire for a while. If society continues like this, there will be nothing left in less than a few decades or so. Famines, disasters, droughts, conflicts, shortages will crush the human population from every angle. There are green technologies that relieve the environment from harmful effects, but we need to invent more green technologies and pursue vital projects to curb the environmental impact. The industrial era may come to an end since it's been very destructive, especially after globalization. Natural productions can supply everything for all life if they're executed the right way. Most natural creations are carbon negative, and most green, environmentally friendly technologies mimic natural productions in their design and output. Scientists, engineers, and researchers should work on nature's sustainable creations to devise new technologies and engineering. Some green and renewable innovations are more efficient in tackling climate change and environmental impact. Sun sends almost unlimited energy to Earth, so solar power as well as plant productions that utilize photosynthesis to create energy are the most effective. Green innovation is crucial to tackling climate change and environmental decline, since planting trees and gardening won't overcome the negative effects of catastrophic events. There were natural disasters in the past, but the ones occurring now will be more intense and devastating as time passes. The planet is in a totally new era that many people, animals, and regions of the world can get afflicted cause of increasing temperatures, famines, droughts, scarcities, and so on. Luckily, there are many green technologies and projects planned to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Solar and wind power generation are becoming more popular around the world. Electric cars will be more affordable soon. Battery technology will make car batteries to last longer. The car industry is one of the most CO2 emitting, as well as the meat industry. Anyone can switch to a planet-friendly, cruelty-free, and green lifestyle by going vegan, driving an electric car, installing solar panels on their roof, discarding single-use plastics, planting. Big companies will invest in green innovation and advancements as well as solutions to climate change. Some of the biggest entrepreneurs have built their businesses to resolve the biggest issues of our society, like climate change, environmental decline, pollution, and animal rights. If the sun can energize nature and all natural productions, it can also power the needs of human society. The countries that generate and wield the most energy are the most developed ones, but they contribute to climate change and environmental degradation more than others. Instead of worrying about the economy, nations must do whatever it takes to save the planet from fire. A global green economy will be more beneficial, futuristic, and progressive for human civilization. Everything is made for humans to live comfortably, but living green with sustainable productions is the most comfortable and satisfying. It's easy for anyone to install solar panels on their roofs. It can cut your electric bill in half or more. A lot of people started biking to work and to places after the lockdown. This is one of the best things you can do to reduce your carbon impact, also for your health. We may see bikeable cars in the future to put an end to CO2 emissions of cars completely. You can't bike long distances under the rain, but compact bikeable cars can be ridden as long as your legs can endure. Everyone knows about traditional renewable energies, and they will prevail soon. Battery technology will only get better because there are so many companies and technologies that rely on batteries. Nowadays, you can purchase a home battery to light up your home throughout the day. Composting, although it's not a technology, it's better for the environment than dumping tons of food waste into landfills to rot and discharge methane. Food waste can be composted to be used in gardening and farming. It's a method of recycling, and recycling should be more efficient since pollution levels are skyrocketing worldwide. Permaculture designed for gardening and farming can restore the environment and create green spaces for biodiversity and food production. Monoculture is an inefficient method of farming. Permaculture can be implemented by anyone who wants to start building edible forests of any kind. Nature is always the best technology we can employ. Technologies and mass manufacturing will always exhaust natural resources that are fragile and finite. Metal deposits are finite and mining destroys the ecosphere. Best green technology and production will always mimic and employ nature. Tech pollution is a big problem. Recycling old discarded tech devices and materials is beneficial for the environment. Recycled materials can be turned into fertilizer, fuel, furniture, and much more. Collected metal pieces are melted to be turned into products made with them again and again. The hardest part is the culling of recyclable parts and pieces out of trash. Types of plastics cannot be recycled altogether, they are separated in advance. In the future, freshwater reserves will dwindle as a result of global warming and droughts. Green technology is required to purify seawater and dirty water. Water has many uses and it's one of the most critical resources. Crops cannot be watered with seawater because of the amount of salt in it. Some devices can filter dirty or salty water as drinkable, but we need large-scale technologies to convert any type of dirty water into clean water to grow crops and to drink. If there are water shortages, society would collapse in a short time. That's why most technologies and investments should be made under a green plan. Recycling electronics will be more universal in the future because most electronics contain a lot of rare metals and recyclable materials. People are so fixated on new tech devices that old ones are discarded very fast. Tech pollution is as dangerous as plastic pollution. Most thrown out tech isn't recycled and they're made mostly of plastics. Technological productions drain rare deposits as well. Companies will have to recycle and reuse materials to make new tech gadgets and products. It would be better if all technology is completely biodegradable and manufactured sustainably with plant-based materials. Hydrogen fuel cell cars are in development to compete with electric cars. A lot of people are switching to electric cars to reduce their carbon impact and to cut their fossil fuel spending. Inventors are working on an exhaust filter that works with algae to turn CO2 coming out of cars to oxygen. Although fossil fuels are emitting a very high amount of CO2, algae filters can curtail CO2 emissions significantly. Algae filters can be mass manufactured and installed into all cars for them to be emission-free. Algae is easy to grow and propagate. It can be implemented into anything to turn CO2 into oxygen. Most oxygen in the atmosphere is produced by cyanobacteria. These organisms can be transplanted in places where CO2 emissions are very high to prevent them. Power plants emit some of the highest quantities of greenhouse gases, but hopefully, they can be filtered and photosynthesized with algae and other microorganisms that do photosynthesis. Photosynthetic energy production is the most efficient way of producing energy. Plants have been evolving for billions of years. They're some of the most ancient organisms. Utilizing and mimicking photosynthesis and plant-based energy generation can be effective for every field of business, also for power plants. Solar is one of the most sustainable ways to generate electricity, but think about if solar panels were like plants or cyanobacteria. They would be alive, regenerative, and more efficient than photovoltaics. The entire world has to be very green and only powered by clean energies and green technologies as of now. Climate change is becoming the biggest threat of our time. There is evidence that climate change has wiped out large empires in the past. This time it can devastate the entire world population since food productions, water sources, the fertility of soils will get despoiled with increasing temperatures, toxicity, and pollution. Recycling efforts aren't capable to recycle most of the waste and discarded materials. Some nations stopped recycling other nations' junk. One nation or some developed nations cannot recycle the world's rubbish, so all nations should set up their recycling systems and equipment to become environmentally friendly. Plastic pollution is a global problem. All nations produce a tremendous amount of plastic debris that winds up mostly in oceans and landfills. Plastic waste can be recycled as plastic bricks to be used in construction to decrease plastic pollution. Tech products that people spend so much money and follow with enthusiasm are generating a large amount of pollution, and tech companies should start making their products completely recyclable, biodegradable, and green. Green innovation will always be the main goal of the new age that our civilization has embarked on. Almost no products are sustainable in global markets, and they all amplify the already cataclysmic pollution layers. Almost all products are packaged in plastics that decompose in hundreds of years or never decompose. Going green begins with individuals. If people can find replacements for unsustainable products, more companies will make them. With the expansion of the internet and social media, trends spread very fast. Green movements and innovation have been extremely widespread in recent years. Vertical farming is a new way of producing food to supply cities and markets. It can be more efficient for food production because vertical farms are established in controlled environments where water is reused, temperatures are suited, and there is no need for any soils. If climate change desolates most farming fields, Vertical farms will be the only choice to supply the needs of a growing population. Anything green will be essential and booming business shortly. The Earth has entered a new era in its climate and ecology. Biofuels are the green way of filling up cars and trucks, but they still emit CO2. Fossil fuels may be completely obsolete in the future to be able to tackle climate and environmental changes. The congestion of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere warm up the planet increasingly. The industries that emit the most greenhouse gases may have to be adjusted as carbon negative or ceased. Going carbon neutral isn't adequate to oppose global warming and other adversities. Switching to carbon negative and sustainable renewability can be achieved through green innovation and modifications. Seaweed, kelp, and algae will play a bigger role in dealing with global warming, also in green tech innovation developments. Researchers discovered that seaweed and kelp can be cultivated easily in water, can be harvested in large quantities to be sold as food, also used to make many products. The benefits of seaweed, kelp, and algae are endless. People will rely on these types of water plants more for a food source and for their many uses. Water plants absorb tons of CO2 and exhale oxygen as well. Cyanobacteria and algae types of plants can reproduce easily on the water without the need for fertilizers, soils, and nutrients. Cyanobacteria is one of the most oxygen-producing organisms on Earth. Forests and coral reefs also produce most of the oxygen and sequester carbon. Both of these living structures are in danger. People cut forests, coral reefs are bleaching with increasing water temperatures. Forest fires are more common than ever. Global warming will incinerate more forests and woodlands hereafter. Algae and seaweeds can be extremely beneficial to develop new green technologies and productions. Seaweed is a great food source and it can provide food to people in need. Most regions of the world may end up infertile in the near future, so farming seaweed in water will be crucial to feed many people. Water plants don't require much work or land. Oceans are vast and they can be grown over large bodies of water without much investment. There is a bioreactor in development that's powered by algae, which can soak up more CO2 than a forest and exude tons of oxygen. This is proof that mimicking nature, photosynthesis, and plants are vital for human civilization to progress and survive. Most green technologies and projects will always copy and imitate nature's regenerative system, especially the photosynthetic energy generation. We need more scientists, researchers, and companies to work on these green technologies and advancements to tackle climate change and environmental deterioration. These are some of the biggest threats to mankind. There is also the alien threat that has been secretly here for some time. Alien beings are monitoring every aspect of human society to take advantage of a weakening and conflicted human population. Natural disasters, climate change, and environmental depletion will make human society more vulnerable to alien invasions projected now and in the future. Humans have to save and restore their home world into its more sustainable, renewable, and green state in its progression. Everything depends on people and everything counts in a world in grave danger. Going green and uniting as one world community is the main purpose of the new age that can hopefully redeem planet Earth and recover it from destruction. Plants and trees are very evolved species that have been on Earth a lot longer than most other species, even humans. Humans are supposed to utilize nature's renewable resources rather than plundering and ravaging all on their path. There is research being done about growing mushrooms and fungi into buildings. Some inventors have grown mushrooms as furniture. The construction industry is another biggest carbon emitter. Constructions waste tons of resources and materials to make types of buildings. We don't need taller, larger, bigger buildings to contain people and business. We need more green communities in tune with nature. Green construction methods and green concrete will be more prevalent soon. Green buildings are becoming very popular. New green buildings are popping out in well-known cities of the world. They utilize renewable energies and absorb CO2 with plant life. Some architects are covering whole buildings and complexes with greenery and install renewables and gardens on the roofs to make buildings look like in-city forests. Park spaces are the best places for people to tranquilize, but architects, engineers, designers can employ green architecture in cities and build green communities in suburbs that are carbon negative. People love their smartphones and they're powered by lithium-ion batteries as well as electric cars. Battery technology will only improve because so many technologies, especially smartphones that most people are fond of, are powered by rechargeable batteries. Batteries and all other technologies should be recyclable and green as well because they still contribute to tech pollution. It seems like no renewable technology is completely renewable or sustainable, but they're improving towards a greater level of sustainability and renewability. More companies and scientists are working on sustainable and renewable tech and energy more than before. With the buildup of climate change, people realized the only way out may be going green worldwide. Waste-to-energy facilities is being used by more cities to turn their waste into energy without the need to burn fossil fuels. This still emits CO2 and methane, but it's reduced the size of landfills. Landfills produce tons of greenhouse gases and people may have to consume and waste a lot less than before to fight against climate change and other calamities. Water reserves are in great danger. Droughts will be more common henceforth. Freshwater rivers and lakes are drying up and getting contaminated. Desalination facilities can remove salt and other minerals from water to make it safe for human consumption. This water can be used for drinking, irrigation, and other uses. Driest places in the world don't receive enough rain to grow crops, but desalination facilities can supply the water to farms. Oceans contain so much water, the only thing is they need to be desalinated and filtered to be converted into fresh water. There is always a solution to the biggest problems of our time. Green innovation will be the business endeavor of the new era in human evolution. The world's resources are depleting extremely fast, and there won't be much left in only after a few decades. In less than 100 years, humans may be living on a cataclysmic planet going through mass shortages. Pandemic has been a great lesson for mankind, and each person is required to switch to the greenest, ecological lifestyles and even start a green business, perhaps powered by algae and green technologies. Nature already displays the most evolved and efficient productions that humans can make use of without destroying and overusing natural resources and forests. Forests themselves, if they're designed and cultivated the right ways, can sustainably provide most of the supplies to the growing human population. Green eco-villages are being designed by certain companies and builders to put an end to destructive, polluting, carbon-radiating cities that most people live at. Big cities and industrial zones are the most destructive, unsustainable greenhouse gas emitters. The industrial era has granted many technologies, products, and discoveries to humankind, but industrialization has to be regulated and rectified as environmentally friendly, carbon negative, green, and sustainable. Green tech will be the newest field of business in the years to come. More and more people and inventors are working on new mechanisms to clean up the planet, reverse climate change. Photosynthesis is the main pattern of energy and food generation, so utilizing and copying this magnificent process will unlock many new developments and technologies. You can almost make anything with the right equipment by employing photosynthesis and photosynthetic organisms without harming the environment and emanating carbon. Nature already has the best technology and production that people can make use of in every field of business. Buildings, cities, and technologies will be entirely green in the future because that's the most sustainable way for development and growth. Most sustainable places in the world are the greenest and cleanest. Some of these places house many people as well, but people do the most ecological things to sustain their communities. The new age has to be the greenest and most sustainable, otherwise the next extinction event will be the humans after this recent mass extinction event. A lot of people started gardening during the lockdown. Many nations are planting millions, billions of tree species suitable and productive for their regions. Going vegan and fully plant-based in your personal life and business ethics can help the world switch into a cruelty-free, green, and sustainable state of evolution and harmony. The nations that continue their unsustainable manners will get wiped out with natural disasters, plagues, pandemics, and much more. Human beings are only a component of nature, which is a lot more evolved and resourceful than them. Each person is required to do the things that will save and restore the planet at this time so they can secure their future and safeguard their only homeworld self-sustainability in the years to come. Pandemic has reduced carbon emissions by up to 18%, but this isn't adequate to halt climate crisis, wildfires, and extinctions. Green technologies will help change the world and propel civilization, but natural living and green projects are more critical to rehabilitating planetary life balance. Anyone can easily become carbon negative, erase their environmental impact by living green, going vegan, or at least plant-based. Investing in reforestation and green projects also cultivate nature's renewable resources all around them and in their personal space. The planet is depleting very fast. Don't be shocked if your nation or city gets hit by famines and scarcities in less than 50 years. All cities of the world can be the greenest, most productive, and sustainable food forests, gardens, farms powered only by renewable energies, where all buildings are either carbon and pollution-free or made of plant-based, eco-friendly materials. Green cities will be the standard and will be mandated soon. A lot of people are aware of the impact of their nation's industrial expenditures and pollution.